The sun had not yet broken the horizon when Aron stepped barefoot onto the cold wooden porch, the boards creaking beneath his careful weight. His palms were damp, wiped clean on the worn fabric of his trousers, a small ritual he could not quite shake. The wind rolled across the plains like distant drums, brushing the scent of sage and dry earth into the morning. Chickens clucked and scratched in the dust, indifferent to the rising heat of the day, and the horses shifted in their stalls, metal bits clinking faintly as he passed. Aron moved with precision, each task accounted for: fill the trough, check the fences, oil the hinges. But even in the rhythm of routine, his mind wandered. It wandered to Kiona. To the sharp line of her jaw, the steadiness in her eyes, the quiet authority that made men who thought themselves strong hesitate. He had met her on the edge of her people's territory, where the brush ran thick and the trail was easy to miss. She had been cautious, observing him before speaking. He remembered the moment she had looked at him as if weighing the very air between them, as if understanding him without words. And he, nervous and clumsy with his own heart, had fumbled through a greeting that now made him wince in memory. But in that short encounter, something had shifted, something unspoken, yet binding. The horses whinnied, pulling Aron back to the present. He ran a hand over the neck of the nearest stallion, feeling the sweat warm beneath his palm. A child was coming, Kiona had told him. A child that would bridge two worlds. The thought both thrilled and terrified him. He wanted to be strong, to be the man Kiona's people would respect. But he also feared failing her, feared failing the life that might depend on him. Nail, the woman who had become the center of his anxious universe, arrived on the trail in quiet dignity, her horse's hooves striking the hard-packed earth with deliberate grace. Her braid swung once, then she undid it, fingers twisting the dark strands over and over, a sign he had learned to read. She dismounted, dusting off the seat of her skirts with a practiced motion, and offered him a brief nod. Her eyes held both warmth and warning, the calm of someone who had faced storms and survived, yet refused to be swept away by them. "You're early," he said, his voice low, careful. He had prepared speeches for days in his mind, but none of them seemed fit for the weight in her gaze. "I watched the horizon," she said. Her tone was flat but not cold. Storms coming from the west. Could break the creek banks by evening. She glanced toward the distant hills, where the wind twisted dry grass into small, spinning tornadoes. "We should move the animals." Together, they worked in silence, hands steady, bodies moving in quiet choreography. Aron felt the rhythm of her presence, its calm, unflinching strength, and a stirring of hope that perhaps he could learn it, carry it with him. The morning passed like this, routine and devotion, under the vast canvas of a waking west. It was midday when Chasker arrived, riding hard across the mesa, dust clouding the sky behind him. His presence was immediate, demanding, as if the land itself had grown tense under his shadow. He was older, seasoned, a warrior carved from the same sun-baked soil as Nail, and he carried the weight of tradition on broad shoulders. When he dismounted, the leather of his boots groaning against the wooden planks, his eyes scanned the scene like a hawk. "Aron," he said, voice clipped, tone commanding. "You know the rules." He gestured toward Nail, who did not flinch, braids still twisting in her fingers. "She is promised to another." Aron's stomach tightened. He had expected confrontation, but the magnitude of it left his palms slick again. Chaska, I respect your people," he said, voice careful. "But I care for Nail. I intend no disrespect. Only to protect what's coming." Chaska's eyes narrowed. "Words are cheap. Strength is measured in action." Before Aron could respond, a sudden scream split the air. A young boy, no more than 10, had wandered near the creek and slipped on the slick bank. The current had already caught him, pulling him into the murky water. Instinct took over. Aron sprinted, boots thudding, heart hammering, reaching the boy as the icy water surged around him. Nail was there in a heartbeat, arms strong and sure, pulling the child toward safety. Chaska followed, face pale under the sun, the rigid lines of his authority momentarily softened. When the boy was dragged from the creek and wrapped in blankets, gasping and shivering, silence settled over the small gathering. Dust coated their clothes, sun burned their skin, and the crackling of the distant creek sounded like a lullaby. In that moment, the weight of their choices, the lives they had touched, the traditions they carried, the promises they might break, was undeniable. Nail's eyes met Aron's. No words were necessary. The firelight of the setting sun, streaking gold and crimson across the plains, spoke for them both. Aron understood what he had to be, not the strongest, not the loudest, but the steady hand, the quiet protector who would carry their child safely between worlds. Nail, in turn, saw a man willing to learn, willing to respect, willing to be more than his fear. That night, under a sky alive with stars and the distant call of coyotes, the elders gathered. The councilwoman, Kiona's grandaunt, spoke carefully in the ancestral language, her hands resting lightly on a small carved bracelet. The firelight flickered across her face, lined but commanding, eyes sharp with both caution and understanding. She had seen many unions, many promises broken, many hearts hardened by loss. But she recognized truth when it arrived in quiet gestures, a steady gaze, a willingness to bear responsibility, hands that knew work and care. "You wish to join our lives," she said slowly, addressing Aaron. "You carry no pretense. You act with care. This is rare." He knelt, hands brushing the dust. "I do not wish to fail her," he said. "Nor the child that comes after. I will learn, I will protect, I will honor." His voice wavered, but the truth in it resonated stronger than any command. She nodded once, barely perceptible, and extended the bracelet. "This is not a gift," she said. "It is a bond. Between you, her, and what comes. Guard it well." Chaska's arms were crossed, eyes dark. Attention hung, waiting to break. He took a deep breath, then let it out slowly, a gesture of acceptance hard won. "Tradition is not discarded lightly," he said. "But strength is more than force. I see it here. Protect her, and you protect more than yourself." The night deepened, and the fire's glow softened to embers. Aaron and Nail walked to the edge of the mesa, the land stretching endless and forgiving beneath them. He took her hand, tentative at first, then firm. "I do not know all that I must be," he said. "But I will try with every day, every sunrise, every moment." She squeezed his hand, braid finally loose, wind stirring her hair like smoke. "Strength is quiet," she said. "It lives in the choice to stay, to protect, to build. You are learning. That is enough." The child would come, they knew, and with that, a bridge between two worlds. Aaron imagined small footsteps on the dusty floorboards of the cabin he would one day share with her, the sound of a child's laughter chasing away the loneliness he had carried. He imagined teaching them to care for the animals, to respect the land, to carry tradition and courage alike. Nail's people would see him as he was, not a man of empty words, but of steady hands, honest work, and unwavering devotion. The storm clouds broke at dawn, and the plains were bathed in soft gold. Dust hung in the air, catching the first light, and the creek sparkled as if the world itself were giving approval. Aaron fed the chickens, checked the horses, and carried water with deliberate care, each motion a meditation, a promise. Nail braided her hair, smiled faintly, and watched him, a silent affirmation passing between them. Chaska rode off toward the distant hills, respectful but still vigilant, leaving space for new choices to grow. By midday, they were working together again, preparing the land for what was coming. The danger of the world, the storms, the wilds, the old wounds, still existed. But there was hope, carried quietly between the people willing to act with courage, guided by truth and tenderness. The west was harsh, its wind sharp, its nights long and lonely, but even here, life could bloom where respect and love were sown. And so they moved forward. Aaron, learning the rhythms of strength in stillness. Nail, teaching the ways of her people without losing herself. Chaska, reshaped by witnessing choice and mercy. The councilwoman, honoring tradition without blind rigidity. And above all, the promise of the child, a bridge of blood and heart, carrying two worlds in one small, miraculous life. The horizon stretched wide, the plains alive with possibility, and in that vast openness, the quiet, enduring heartbeat of a family began. And in the wind through the sage and the sunlight glinting off leather and metal, they all understood. The bravest act in the West was not conquest, but love, steadiness, and the courage to hold another soul as precious as your own.